91A23B, federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public assessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. I'll start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each person states their names, please also state whether someone is in the room with you during this meeting. So I'm going to start off with Dave Sharples, our town planner.
Yes, Dave Sharples, town planner. I am currently in the room by myself, but I have 2 kids and a wife upstairs that may come into play at some point.
Thank you. I'll skip Lovey because I don't see her yet. John Mueller.
John Mueller, I'm here by myself.
Okay. And Pete Cameron, I'm not seeing Pete. Lindsay Sonnet.
Lindsay Sonnet, I am currently in the room by myself.
Thank you. Tim, no. Julie Gilman, select one, Julie Gilman.
I am alone.
Robert Prine from Rockingham Planning Commission.
Hi, Robert Prine here, and I am alone.
Sarah Reitzman, Director of Seacoast Workforce Housing.
Sarah Reitzman here. My husband's in the room, but he's not listening.
Okay. And I think our town manager, Russ Dean, is on.
I am here. And
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm by myself.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask everyone to do, we're going to take it slow and easy. This is the first time, learning curve for some of us. So I'm going to ask that everyone mute themselves. And when they want to speak, to raise their hand. And once their name is called, you can then unmute yourself and unraise your hand. And then that will prevent us from talking over each other. Okay, I think that's it with my spiel that I had to do for legal purposes. So we're going to set that aside, and I'm going to start with the agenda.
Nancy, can I jump in just for a moment?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to let everybody know that's participating that we are streaming this over EXTV. So I know the Housing Committee is not necessarily always on EXTV. So just as an FYI for everybody.
Yes, excellent reminder. Okay, so Lovey Roundtree Olaf is not here at the moment, but I'm still going to start the meeting by welcoming her as our new Select Board representative. And I also want to take a moment to thank Selectwoman Molly Cowan for serving as Select Board representative for the past few years on our committee. We typically don't have public or public comment, but I'm going to open this meeting up for public comment. I'm not seeing any attendees, so I will move on.
Tim Roach just joined us.
Who did?
Tim Roach from RPC.
Oh, he did. Hi, Tim.
Hey guys, sorry.
Oh, there you are.
I just figured I'd pop in for a second and say hello, and I haven't been for a while, and I had some time, so I figured I would try to catch up. So.
Thank you. Are you in the room alone?
I am in the room alone. Okay,
great. Well,
as far as I know.
Okay, so I will add you to my list after. Okay. So public comment we're moving on. Has everyone had a chance to review the draft minutes from March 13th, 2020? And I'm sorry, but now the train is passing, so. Free. Does anyone have any amendments to our meeting minutes?
No, they were short and sweet.
Thank you. Okay, so would somebody like to motion to accept the minutes as is?
Dave Sharples, town planner, I will make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
John, second. Okay. Does everyone approve? Yes?
Yes.
Just nod your heads. I can see it. The public can see it. Okay. So we're going to turn our meeting over to Selectwoman Julie Gilman, who is going to give us a legislative update on tiny houses. It's all yours, Julie.
Thank you very much. The update is pretty much, if you had a chance to read what I sent out early in the morning. I'm not sure if it went, well, Nancy sent it to everyone. Last session, the Municipal and County Government Committee heard a bill about allowing tiny houses everywhere in town, anywhere, everywhere. And we had a lot of questions about tiny houses on wheels and why they're different from campers or manufactured housing, and had to work through those kind of details. It didn't make it out of our committee. We recommended a study committee. So a group got together to do that kind of, to have those discussions and figure out how we can regulate without being too restrictive. So if you see the bill that was proposed by Martha Fuller Clark, let's see, where we go. Sorry, I'm looking on my thing for the number. It pretty much covers everything in the report. So there's things like, do you call them detached accessory dwellings? They're pretty small. I think they're smaller than what our accessory dwellings are considered. There is a difference between tiny homes. People call them tiny homes instead of tiny houses because many things can be called a tiny house without falling into this category. So they've cleared out what is a movable home, that it needs to sit on a chassis and be strapped down and needs to be inspected. And what I don't know is who's doing the inspection and how that all works out. They haven't really, I don't know that they've worked that out or talked to anybody like a building inspector or something like that. I thought they were heading towards a more vehicle-oriented inspector, but you'll see in it that it needs to have a seal that it's still habitable and appropriately grounded. And that's really probably it. The bill kind of speaks for itself. Oops.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Julie? Just if you could raise your hand and then we'll go through the process that way. No hands raised. Then I'm going to, Sarah Reitzman has her hand raised. Sarah?
Thanks, Julie, for the update. I'm just for clarification. So the study committee did their thing, and then in response, Martha Fuller Clark created a bill that would allow tiny houses?
Right.
Okay.
And that went to the Committee on Elections and Municipal Law. It's a nice combination in the Senate. And they had it in committee and then we shut down. So it hasn't gone beyond the Senate yet.
Do you know the bill number off the top of your head?
Yes. Hold on. It is... my thing won't scroll. There you go. SB 482.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a moment because I just thought of something. we have two people on as panelists that aren't members officially of our committee. So I think, and Mr. Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have to, do we have to agree or all vote that Sarah can speak, Sarah Reitzman, and Robert, I don't know if Robert lives in town, or as panelists, are we all okay?
Yeah, I think my take is just note that, and unless anybody on the committee has any objections to it, that they be allowed to speak.
Thank you. Okay, so no one has objections. Okay, great. So Selectwoman Gilman, thank you very much for taking the time this morning to talk with us.
I had a question that follows up on yours. When we created the charge for this committee, did we specify the people from the different commissions and organizations to be members of this committee?
We did. So Tim Roach represents Rockingham Planning Commission. Robert has been instrumental in part of our housing project, the mapping that Rockingham Planning Commission has been doing, that part of it. And Sarah comes to every meeting as a housing
just for to deal with your concern there, if we specified in the charge that we would have a representative from each of these groups, then you don't have to worry about, you don't.
Sarah's the one person, right? Sarah's the one person that isn't officially a member. That's why I paused for a moment. She's at every meeting as a public person, but.
And one last thing, I may leave the meeting early because I have a plumbing problem that's going to be taken care of soon.
Okay, thank you. Very much appreciated.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next, the update on the Rockingham Planning Commission's multi-unit map and the PowerPoint presentation that Sarah Reitzman started, and that John Mueller has been working with both Robert and Sarah to keep this moving forward. So we're in the final planning stages, I believe. So I really want to take a moment to thank everyone that's worked on this. And our Exeter Historical Society has also really helped with some of the background history, and so has the Selectwoman Gilman with the historical part, which has been wonderful. So thank you. Okay, so I sent an email with some tweaks, if you will, that I think, and Robert, please weigh in here for a moment. The tweaks that I think we need, I think we have to do at the PowerPoint presentation part first and then send it to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the easiest way to go about that. I'm just taking those PowerPoint slides and plopping them into the map.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so because this is our first Zoom meeting and the first one that I am chairing, I didn't want to complicate the screen or anything by pulling up both projects. So does everyone have that project in front of them, at least the slides, the PowerPoint slides presentation? Okay, great. So bear with me a moment. I'm switching over. I don't have a lot of work room on this table. All right. So here's the slides. So I tried to number these the best I could for people to follow along. So number 2, 50 Brookside Drive. It's a typo. Capitalize the O in originally. And I'm also suggesting that we include, prior to being built, the land was part of the D'Agostino Farm, Rose Farm. Can I have any comments on that line?
I'd just like to add, Nancy, I've mentioned it in my emails that, I'll act as secretary. I have noted all of these comments. It's printed in front of me. I haven't changed the PowerPoints because we have accumulation of busy work in the PowerPoint. So I promise that I will make these changes. If we have any additional comments, I'll take care of it.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to wait for our meeting before we made any changes anyway, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I'm not going to worry about writing now.
You don't have to
great.
on that.
Thank you.
Anything above and beyond your email, I will have to write, and maybe you could too, so we're confirming it.
Great. Okay. So I'm not seeing any hands raised, so are we okay with those two changes on 50 Brookside Drive? Okay, great. So the next one would be number 4. And that's 10 Chestnut. Let's see. My suggestion was to say a fire in the 1890s destroyed most of the structure, causing the entire structure to be rebuilt. And then I wanted to paragraph down. Let me finish my thought, and I just noticed our selectwoman rep just popped in, so just give me a minute. Next paragraph should be history of the main building, so I just wanted to make that the next paragraph. I believe there's room to do that, so just to break it up a little bit. Does anyone have any thoughts on that suggestion? No hands raised, so I'm going to say that's a good move. I'm going to pause for a moment and welcome our select woman representative, Lovey Roundtree Olaf, as our new select board representative. Welcome on board.
Thank
Lovey,
you.
is anyone in the room with you so I can add that to?
Not at the moment, but the kids are in the middle of, they're starting their school days, so they may have to pop in here and there.
Okay,
but,
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm going to move on to number 10, or slide 10, I guess. Hold on. Okay, 75 High Street. Fallensby is one word. It currently says Fallens space BY. Yeah, I know. Okay, so I think everyone's okay with that. Okay, great. And then the next one is 33 Kingston Road. What do I have for that one?
Dave's got his hand raised just to...
Oh, thank you. Dave?
Yes, it was on 75 High. That one, Stonewall Way and 163 Water Street, I all have the same comment. It might have been me who even did it, but it says, all of them say units per acre, like spelled out all the others, but those 75 High Street, Stonewall Way, and 163 have like slashes and so forth. So I just thought we'd all be consistent. So change 75 High Street to units per acre, spelled out like all the rest.
What 3 addresses do you have there, David?
75 High Street.
Yep.
Stonewall Way.
Yep.
And 163 Water Street.
Okay.
All have a backslash and instead of writing it out.
Okay, I've got 2 of them. I missed one. 75 High Street.
Stonewall Way. 163.
That's not on my list. So, okay, Stonewall Way. And 163 Water?
Correct.
I have to set that out. Okay. And 75. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that's a good, we want to be consistent with how we do this. So, John, do you have that?
Done.
Okay, great. Now,
Thank you, David.
Lost my place. Number 11 is...
Sorry, Nancy, can I jump in just for a sec?
Sure.
75 High Street, what I'm looking at has Emerson, has 2 M's, Emerson School. I think it's 1 M, isn't it? Just a typo, I think.
John, will you just circle that? I'm not gonna double check that right at the moment because I'll lose my place. But that's a good catch.
So it's 1 M in Emerson?
Believe so, yes.
Yeah, but we want to check.
The version I have open, which is story map description JM April 14th, already has that change made. Are you looking at an older doc?
I'm not sure, but mine says JM April 14th .2020.PowerPoint. So
wow.
But that's good if the changes.
No, thank you. We'll double check that one. The spelling of Emerson. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now I believe we're at number 1133 Kingston Road. I just want to suggest that we note in here that the information was taken from a published obituary. Is everyone okay with that addition? So John, where it says 80 plus years old and lived in the family home all of his life period, this information was taken from a public obituary. And I don't have the year, but if we want to get even that specific, I could ask Barbara when she read that what the date of that obituary was. Barbara from our Historical Society, because that's where that came from. Is everyone okay? And Russ has his hand up.
No, I'm all set. That was from the last go around.
Okay, so number 13, we're on the Squamscott block. Suggest capitalizing the S and that's it. Where was that? I don't know. 30 Main Street.
Hold on a second, Nancy. I'm.
It's okay. Hold on. I think I might have gone too far. No.
Go.
No, I guess I don't know what the Squamscott block, it doesn't make sense to me. But okay, so we're going to move on to 163 Water Street.
Let's stick with, your email has number 13, Squamscott block, 30 Main Street, and it's 130 Water, so.
Right, that's why I want to skip over it because I might have made an error in my notes.
All right, good.
Thank you. Okay, so if we could go to 163 Water Street, which is the Merrill block, because this one's going to take a moment. So, I think we should have Merrill block added into our description and not just the address. So whether we put it up where it says 163 Water Street and then put Merrill block there, the name of the building, that's something I want to consider, the board, the committee to consider. And there's also a blank in our description, a line, and it's talking about fire. And I'm going to read an email that I got from our Historical Society. So we had a work session meeting with Barbara at the Historical Society, and we'd gone through all these slides, and she was looking for some background to help us fill in some of the holes here. So this is what she came back with to me. I don't believe I have any record of a fire at the Merrill block. I went back to the town directories to see if I could figure out when residents were added. The last reverse directory I have is for 1972, and at that time there were no residents in the Merrill block at 163 Water Street. I checked through the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds and found a listing, book 2423, page 405, that lists something called Merrill block condominiums that began selling deeds on September 29th, 1982. So that might be the beginning point for residential units in the building. Before that date, I can find no evidence. So in our notes, there were fires downtown the wooden structures and things that had burned. So I'm thinking that we need to tweak that notes section. So originally built in 1873 to 1874. The announcement in our local newspaper states the following businesses will be located in the new building: doctor's office, National Bank, new vault being built, post office, tailor, and a meeting place for old fellows to meet on the top floor. And then it says, converted to add residence after the fire of. I think we just need to change that to say converted to add residence on the upper floors in and around September 1982. Anyone have any thoughts that they want to weigh in with? Oh, Russ. Hi.
No, I was just.
Oh, you were just clearing your throat.
I think it's great, and anything that Barbara can add to the narrative in that regard makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So I would just keep going ahead and adding it in.
Thank you.
Plus the Merrill block. Yeah, I think the Merrill block header is also helpful to go with 163 Water Street. I think.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And the spelling of Merrill block, Merrill?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Duly noted.
Duly noted. Okay. Yeah. So once we make these final, this is my thought. And again, I would like people to weigh in with this. Once John makes these changes and before we send them to Rob at Rockingham Planning Commission to make those updates or changes, I want to just send it to Barbara at the Historical Society just for one final review. That's my plan. And I'm hoping we can get this done for our next meeting that's in June before that. That's the goal. It's been a 2-year process. We're getting there. Anyone have any thoughts?
I have a question for Robert.
Sure. Okay.
Which is, which is the easiest way for you to put this information into your website?
The easiest for me is your PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I generated PDFs because some people couldn't read the PowerPoints. So going forward, Nancy, and for everybody in the committee, I'll continue to send out both. I guess that makes sense.
And honestly, it's good for me to have the PDF as well, just so that if there's a font issue or something, I know what you intended.
Okay.
I'll do both for all.
Okay. So Robert, is there a leeway time that how much time do you think you'd need? You've heard the changes the tweaks that we need to make?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably do it and turn it around in a day. So the more time, the better, obviously, but it can be done quickly.
Okay. So I think, John, do you think we can start working on this, for next week so I can get it to Barbara, give her a day or so to review it, and then we can get it to Rob?
I have another Zoom meeting at 11, but I should be able to do those changes today. It's not really a lot of work. Okay, great. I might not be able to see it till later this afternoon, but I will look at it just as soon as I can when you send it. Should I send it to everybody today or just to you, Nancy? Could you send it to just me first, please, so I can go through it, and that way you and I can instead of involving everyone in a bunch of email conversation and replies, I'm trying to find a good way to make this less complicated. Agreed. Thank you. Everyone okay with that? Oh, I see Lindsay with her hand up.
I know I started getting impatient. I wasn't waiting to be called on. I just want to thank you guys again for your work on this. It's really presented really nicely, and good job.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move. Does anyone have any other questions or comments on our storyboard project? Okay, so let me find the agenda. Is there any new or old business that anyone would like to talk about?
I have something quickly.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and it's also for Lovey coming on board. One of the things I spent a little bit of time with this morning before the meeting is just going back and looking at the housing committee report from November of 2017, and maybe just to put it on the radar screen of people that if you can kind of go back and relook at that and get familiar with it again to sort of begin a process of just picking off different pieces that may need to be updated, like data points and so forth on that. So I just wanted to bring that to people's attention. And the other thing, and I know Dave can speak to this, but he did a presentation to the select board on the new mixed use neighborhood district on Monday night, which went really well. A couple of technical difficulties, but we figured it out. And he's actually submitted that project for an award that he can talk more to. And then the last thing was obviously our chair, Nancy, was also appointed to the planning board, and her first meeting will be on May 14th. And so the housing committee has another direct link to our planning board, which should really be helpful in terms of this group trying to work ideas over to that side of the house.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be an alternate, a new alternate member of the planning board. I'm excited.
Nancy, I missed that. That's so exciting.
It just happened.
So glad you're on.
Yes.
I'm glad.
So, Dave, do you want to talk about MUND? Municipal?
Sure. Encourage anyone to watch the presentation. We're familiar with it because we reviewed it as a committee, but just want to take a little bit of time to explain I submitted for the New Hampshire Planners Association Project of the Year Award because I thought this was really an innovative tool to use. I'm not sure. I don't think anyone has something similar in the state. So it's really exciting. I'd like to get, a project come underneath it. Definitely been talking to developers. I don't know, the current situation might change that a little bit, but definitely there's some interest in it. So I would expect a project in it, going under it in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I want to I got letters of support for the project to recognize, I got one from Nancy Belanger, our chair. I got one from Sarah from the Workforce Housing Coalition. I got one from the Planning Board chair and the Master Plan Oversight Committee, all of which participated and helped and were instrumental in moving this project forward. So, and it got adopted, as you all know, on the in the March meeting, overwhelmingly, got unanimously approved by the Planning Board. So now it's just a matter of someone coming in and get a project built under it, and look forward to that.
Yes, and you entered it into I don't know what the right term is, for a Project of the Year award?
Yeah, it was a Project of the Year award. I sent in the nomination, I think it was Tuesday, for the New Hampshire Planners Association. Usually they present that at their annual conference. I don't know how that's going to work this year, but, we'll see. Time will tell.
Yes, thank you so much for all the work you did on that and on everything else you do.
Thank you.
And finally, as our town manager pointed out, that was the next thing that I want to, once the project is done that we've been working so hard on, the mapping project, it's been 3 years. Actually, June 22nd, 2017 was the date we presented our report to the planning board. So we're at our 3-year mark. So I think it's important that we start looking at that again, as Mr. Dean said. So that will be on the agenda for our June meeting. So we have a month, everyone, to review it and give it some thought and prepare for our next meeting, which is on June 12th, 2020. And as of right now, it's going to be via Zoom. Things may change, but I'll wait to hear from the town manager and the select board on that. Does anyone have, oh, somebody's got their hand raised. John, there you go.
There we go. It's working. So David, congratulations on that submission. I hope we win. I like the whole MUND project idea. I have two questions. One for everybody. It's kind of like, what are you hearing about the state of the real estate market? You know, are prices going? Any stories? And then, David, do you hear rumblings of anyone using the MUND initiative for planning? People talking to you about it?
I'll answer we'll go to the second question because I can answer that. Not since it got adopted, but that was March 10th. And then, we're in the midst of a global pandemic. But prior to that, I got several inquiries about it, support for it. And, developers may have invested or looking at, I know a couple of them were looking at properties to potentially purchase because of this amendment. So I don't know if, then it kind of, understandably the last month and a half, I really haven't heard much, couple months, because it's kind of, the situation we're in. But I'm hopeful that I think there's interest definitely out there. The market, I haven't heard. All I do know is a lot of people are still going ahead and building. Down here on the beach, they had an approved, I think it's 30 unit condo complex, and they just mobilized last week. So they're starting to build. There's another, 30, 40 unit, which was midway through construction. They continue to go. So definitely, I don't know about the market in Exeter, but things still, at least this point, construction is still underway and projects are being started.
The condos, I know I could add just that the condos are being worked on at 12 Front Street. We know that. And what we'll do for the June meeting is we'll pull together our data set that we typically share for every meeting. We don't have it today, but we'll give you an update and we can review it together as far as a snapshot of sales and things like that. I mean, I think everybody's aware that the market itself has slowed down in terms of transactions, but what is active and out there is still being worked on, like Dave mentioned. I know 12 Front Street is moving fast because there aren't any cars per se in the parking lot. I mean, there are a few, but it gives the contractors room to stretch out a little bit, and they're moving fast on those. So, and we're hearing that they'll be done by August at this point.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I also heard about the market that there's this is anecdotal, but from realtors, that there's just so much the stock. Not so much. There's limited stock, and that's still the case on the supply side. So it may take a little while, because even if the demand goes down, there's still a limited supply, and that has not increased in the last couple months, the supply. So just that tidbit of information I did hear from a couple realtors.
Okay. John, you have your hand up.
Oh, I'm going to take it down.
Okay.
but in response to that, David, that means the limiting factor right now and the unknown factor is the amount of demand. Supply remains constrained. How much demand? I guess we don't know. Okay.
So I've added for our next meeting, we'll go over the housing report that's dated June 22nd, 2017, and the data snapshot that Rustine mentioned. Okay. Is there anything else at this point that anyone would like to add to our June 12th, 2020 agenda? Okay. I also, if my memory serves, Russ commented about Dave Sharple's presentation to the select board Monday, May 4th. If memory serves, that was his presentation started around 1 hour in. and it was a really good refresher. So I encourage everyone to listen to all of the select board meeting, all of the meetings. But if you want to narrow into Dave's presentation, I believe it started around the 1 hour mark or thereabouts. Okay, I believe we've covered everything on our agenda. So I'm looking for raised hands for any comments or anything that anyone would like to say. Anyone? Okay, well, thank you all so much. This was a great first experience for our housing committee, I believe. Our next meeting is Friday, June 12th, 2020. And at this time, we don't normally motion to end. We just conclude because we're that kind of a committee. So unless I have any objections, I am going to move that we end our meeting. No hands raised, no objections. So I'm going to conclude the meeting. Thank you, everyone. See you next month. In the meantime, stay well and healthy. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Nice to see you.